just begin by saying Bismillah in the name of God. We have this amazing session here. And today, of course, is part of the Ladies Fund virtual series. Thank you so many of you for being our members. And Ladies Fund is about women and economic voice and economic power. Our latest venture, the Buraq Center, a collaboration between LUMS NIC, the National Incubation Center, and the German Consulate to create a platform for, of course, women of Pakistan to be incubated, have a co-working space for women, and this was inaugurated by the governor of Sindh in February. Is a wonderful space where women are being trained to have their startups transition to unicorns, which we are calling Buraqs, named after the wonderful Pegasus that the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to heaven in. We, of course, are really excited about this, and this is a complement to our various awards coming up October 11th, which will be our 12th year celebrating the best and most amazing women of Pakistan, and our power lunches, where we're now finalizing the date for our 25th power lunch. We have 4 years, so it's year 6, and that will be coming up in the next few weeks and have star speakers. But each of the speakers in the Buraq series of the Ladies Fund sessions, this is our 17th Ladies Fund virtual event and our second in the Buraq series. Many of you saw Munib Mayer of Baikia recently give an amazing talk about scale and how to create a Buraq that is now currently available on YouTube and available on YouTube as, of course, available on our website. In addition to that, we have this amazing opportunity to today learn about funding. People dream about scale and people dream about money. They say life is about fame and fortune. Well, Samir is the master of the fortune. He is a man who not only is got a pedigree that's incredible, has gone to amazing places he studied, worked, and you've seen his resume that has been sent to you all over the world, from New York to Hong Kong to, of course, Karachi. But he is someone who has funded through his companies 280 plus ventures. So do you on this call want to be 281st? If so, this is the spot that you do not want to leave for the next 90 minutes. And Samir is the man to make that happen. And because he has funded businesses around the world, every single person on this call has a shot. And he doesn't only fund women. So we have made this call open to men, and we do want this knowledge available to everyone. But Samir is so kind to speak at the Ladies Fund virtual session on our Wednesdays We Wear Pink sessions. And so he is actually going to make it a point, Samir, we hope, where you will also talk specifically about things women should look at, particularly in their pitches, business plans, what kind of businesses they'll be funded. So the amazing Samir, the floor is now yours. And whenever you're ready to unmute yourself, we would love it if you can then take over and be our star.
Hey, thank you. It's a tough act to follow that intro. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It's wonderful to be here. You know, I was actually at the opening of the Buraq Center. I don't know if you remember, too. And it's wonderful to see participation even during the time of COVID. Obviously, testimony to the great work you folks are doing and testimony to how much hunger there is for learning. And I think it's wonderful. And I hope today goes well. I hope it's interesting. And I look forward to doing more, maybe even in person in Karachi. Today, I'm in Islamabad. I'm in a very ugly hotel room. So I put up a background of my hometown just to lighten it up. So today, what I was hoping to do in the next, I don't know, hour or so is share with you what we do at Street and Partners and Spark Labs. And given that there are so many different people here who are developing, you know, early stage startups, growth stage, and a bit later stage, we can talk about what we look at, what we look for in all 3 stages. And so that will be sort of, I'll make that part of my intro, what we look at. And then I have some general advice for founders. I have customized this for Pakistani founders. We've seen dozens and dozens of pitches in Pakistan, met equal founders, and we've learned a few things about. So I'm not going to say mistake, but some things Pakistani founders do well, some things they don't do well. And so I thought that'd be a fun way to spend that time. and then I'll stop talking, and folks can give me some feedback or just ask some questions that have been on your mind, and I'll answer them as honestly as possible. If I don't know something, I'll just tell you I don't know. If I know someone who may know the answer, I'll be happy to connect. So the overall background is we have 3 platforms we use, right? So one is a very, very early stage, meaning it's just a founder and they have an idea, right? So we call this angel round, the seed stage funding. Someone needs 50, 75,000 US dollars to get a business started. And often they go to friends and family and close friends and try to put some money together, maybe some of their own savings. And that's typically in the industry, people call it a seed stage, right? So you're seeding the company, like you're seeding a plant. And the people like me who invest in those, I don't have that many friends or family members, but being known as an angel investor, you get approached a lot. And so those check sizes end up being 5, 10, 15,000 US dollars, depending on what it is. So that's sort of the seed stage, angel investing, let's call it, where a lot of people I know do that. And because if you have a passion for something professionally, why would you not do that personally as well? And I think in Pakistan, frankly, we need more of that. And one of the efforts I'm trying to do on the side is get more high net worth individuals, more corporate leaders, more tycoons, more agricultural income and real estate income owners to participate as angel investors and really help the startup system. Every startup system in the world, Silicon Valley, London, New York, Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, Shenzhen, they've all started with help by seed companies, seed funding, local entrepreneurs, local tycoon helping other entrepreneurs. I think that's very important. So that's personal, right? That's not professional. Then on the Spark Labs side is companies that are that maybe pre-revenue, so they don't have to be huge, pre-revenue, but about to get to revenue, obviously, and revenue. So Spark Labs, I don't know how many of you know Spark Labs. Spark Labs is a network of tech accelerators and technology venture capital funds. It was started in Seoul, Korea, about 7, 8 years ago. And we now exist in Beijing, Shanghai, Taipei, Shenzhen, Sydney, Australia, Oman, and Washington, D.C., and in San Francisco now. And we meaning the whole group, not just me. The whole group has made over 280 investments. As of Eid, it was 280. We're hopefully going to end the year maybe over 325. Internationally, we have done them across sectors: fintech, health tech, e-commerce, transport, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. Anyway, just name it. We don't really do hardware and biotech. I think that's a very specialized field. And the way we approach it is almost all the partners at Spark Labs have been entrepreneurs in their previous lives. So these are entrepreneurs building entrepreneurs. So we typically join the board. We typically really help the entrepreneur and team. Once again, we don't impose ourselves and dictate terms, but we are there to listen, support, and give advice and help the company grow using our knowledge and our network and help answer the entrepreneur's question. So people like that, we receive our accelerator programs are very popular, and our funds receive some very, very high quality deal flow. And funds, companies startups that graduate from our accelerators or startups in which we've invested early often are pursued by later stage, much larger, much better, well-known VC funds for much bigger checks, 5 million, 10 million. And then that makes us feel good that we help entrepreneurs build bigger and more attractive businesses, that we've helped founders, passionate, talented founders, make their companies more valuable and help their dreams come true. I think the only successful entrepreneurs are those that have extreme passion. It's not a sufficient condition, but it's a necessary condition to start. And it's wonderful to see an entrepreneur be successful and have their company continue to receive support and growth. And growth is good. Growth isn't just wealth creation, it's helping the local economy, national economy, it's creating good jobs and good wages. So we like growth. So that's Spark Labs, right? So of the 280 companies, I've led some of them. I've been on the investment committee for some of them. I've introduced some of them. I'm on the board of a few. As far as Pakistan and Spark Labs go, we have only made 2 investments. Sorry, that's not true. I lied. We made 3 investments. We made 3 investments. One in fintech, one in, and that frankly has not gone very well. But that's venture capital, right? Not everything goes well. The second investment is called Freightix. It's freight with IX at the end. It's a company that came out of Plan 9, the incubator in Punjab. We like it because, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why we liked it later, but that's one of our investments. And the third is, and it's started by a young founder. I don't know if he's on today, called Umair Atta. I love this guy. He did not go to HSN or Karachi Grammar School. He grew up in Rahim Yar Khan, just a smart guy, smart young man, not a kid. He's a smart young man, had a great idea. It's basically the Uber for trucks. When you want truck, because trucking is deeply fragmented. It's unfair to the truck owners and drivers. It's a terrible business. It's shady, dodgy, the dawalas screw around with everyone. So this guy wanted to organize this so that truck drivers could make a bit more money, mid-sized customers could get better service, and he started this company. Then we found him through some mutual friends. The venture capital and entrepreneurship is a game of networking, it's a game of contact, developing contact, getting to know more people. So a gentleman called Khurram Zafar, who runs a company called 47 Ventures and is on the board of Karandaz and the National Incubation Center in Lahore, he introduced us to Freightix because he knows we're looking for something, and we were looking for something in that space. And we just loved Umair. I think he's just a passionate entrepreneur who's had a tough time, but he's made it work. And then we spent 10 days together. We spent, I don't know, 3-4 hours every time we met, and we would talk about strategy, team, culture, what's important. And we tried to convince him of making some changes to his business model. We tried to convince him. Anyway, so it was back and forth. But the most important thing is through those many discussions, we got to know each other very well, and we jointly developed a plan, and then we made the decision to invest. So he was surprised. He said, you guys are spending a lot of time. He said it in Urdu, or actually he said it in Punjabi, but he said, you guys are spending so much time with me and you don't even own any of this. And he liked that. He liked the way we work at it. So we're still on it. I'm chairman of the board. It's one of my favorite investments in the world. Inshallah, it's going to grow. It effectively is now an intercity company. So if you want to send your exports from Lahore to Karachi port, you can do it. We have 63,000 trucks on the platform, which is a healthy proportion of how many trucks are in Pakistan. Anyway, that's what the third company we are invested in Pakistan is TeleTalk. If you are not on TeleTalk, I'll send you links. Please get on it. It's essentially a better WhatsApp. It's a customized Pakistani version of WhatsApp with localized stickers. You can talk in local languages, Urdu, Punjabi, Pashto, because not everyone in Pakistan likes talking in English. Not everyone in Pakistan likes typing in English. There are local stickers, etc. So we led around $1.6 million about a year ago, and we actually no, that's not true, but 10 months ago, and we're quite pleased with progress. So we would love to do more in Pakistan. The background of why we like Pakistan, why we like tech is very simple. I don't, some people say, well, you're Pakistani, you come back to Pakistan to give back. I'm happy to give back. There are many ways to give back. But when you're dealing with investors' money, this is not all my own money. With investors' money, your colleagues' money, you can't just engage in a philanthropic activity of giving back, right? It has to be that this is an attractive opportunity. We continue to believe Pakistan is a hidden gem in the investment world. We believe Pakistan has more opportunity than the world realizes, and we are here to create success stories. We would like to create, I don't know, as many as possible, 50, 100, 200. But let's start with a few, hopefully TeleTalk and Freightix. We think the opportunities in Pakistan are very clear. We've got a massive young population, and this young population thinks differently than frankly my generation. I'm 49 years old, and the younger people in Pakistan think differently. They have a much more positive attitude, frankly. A lot of them are self-taught on YouTube, on different websites and apps, and they've been a steep learning curve. They're tech savvy. They like using technology. They have an entrepreneurial spirit, and we believe there are thousands of ideas out there. and we want to be part of as many of those as possible. And I encourage all my investor friends to go find ideas outside of just HSN and LUMS and Karachi Grammar School. There's some wonderful talent out there that needs nurturing. So the macro view we have on Pakistan, what is that? It's hidden gem. The second view we have on Pakistan is throughout human history, if you dial the lens back, throughout human history, all of wealth and power has happened because of technological advancement. And being left out of technological advancement is a death blow for a civilization, for a country. On the reverse, getting technology right leads to wealth and national power. And that's why tech is so important. And I would very much like to see that being taken seriously at more levels of our country. The third reason we're very, very bullish on Pakistan is because one way I talked about the youth bulge, right? Also young people. We also think that just not enough women participate in entrepreneurship and business. If you look at there's a famous saying by Chairman Mao in China, and he said women hold up half the sky, which means men and women are equal. They hold up the sky. They make things work. They make growth happen. They make prosperity happen, and they make national pride happen. They make national progress happen. Women's workforce participation rates are low. Women entrepreneurs getting funded are low. So I was very pleased that Buraq exists, and I hope it becomes a bigger and bigger success. So that's what we believe. Pakistan's a hidden gem. Technology is super important, and we need more women to be entrepreneurs. Having said that, if you could go to slide 3, which says investment criteria, so we can just jump into it. So we look at 4 criteria. So at some point the slide will come up, or you can just listen to me. So we have 4 criteria, right? We look at all 4 criteria start with a T, but the reason is because it's a way for me to remember them. There's no framework. Once again, this is how I think. Now you talk to 20 different VCs, they'll think about it in 20 different ways. So there's no one standard way. But hopefully, as you talk to more venture capitalists, as you read more, listen to more things, you'll see some common themes. But ultimately, if you think about it, venture capital investors have taken money from investors to invest on their behalf in technology. And they want to bet on technology companies that are going to grow a lot so that they can return a good return to investors. And that's sort of the very basic level. So each of us has a way of picking winners, right? As a way of picking who we think will grow more. And this is my way. Once again, it's not the Spark Labs, but it's my way. It's worked reasonably well. And I'm happy to share with you how some companies differ. But I encourage you to ask people their investment criteria. And what's your investment criteria? What's your investment process? Some of it will be the same. They say, oh, we want entrepreneurs who are smart and blah, blah. But you got to get it under that a little bit. Anyway, let me share with you ours. One is TAM. TAM means target addressable market, the target market basically, right? So this means, how big is the pool in which you're jumping in? For example, if you look at Uber, I think most of you know Uber or Careem, right? So when Uber first started, some people thought that target market was replacing taxis or replacing limos. Like, what was it? Like, taxis are mid-priced, limos are high-priced. Here's how big each market is. But as they grew, I think everyone realized that wasn't just that market. It was also people who may take public transport, or for the convenience of Uber, they'll switch. So thinking of what you want to do is think of a big enough market, big enough addressable market that your product, your service, or company can target, but then that's also growing and has some profits in it. So being in a big space solves a lot of problems, right? So if you're in a super niche, narrow space, that's not wrong. This could be okay, but it makes it a bit harder for you. The market share you have to get is a lot higher. Whereas in a big market, where you can go, where you with a unique proposition, you can go and pick off some part of that market. It's an easier road. Once again, I'm simplifying a lot, but just for the purpose of this discussion, I thought I'd be high level. Second is we look at team. And team is obviously starts with the founder. We think the founder is super important in setting the company's culture, setting the company's direction, making important decisions, like hiring people, executing strategy, putting in front of investors, and so on. So on team, but then again, it's not just a founder. It's also, that's your startup in early stage. Yeah, like let's say you have 4 people total. Even then, right? We look at the culture of the team. How does the team work together? How do decisions get made? Does the team all have some ownership in the growth? Are they all committed? Are they all frankly smart? Do they know what they're doing? Do they know not just the industry? Do they know their specific job? There's a technology guy, technology guy or girl, know technology enough to do their job. They don't have to know everything, but they have to know how to do their job. We also look at how flexible is the team. How committed are they, but also how flexible they are. Because in the early stages of a tech company, you don't know where it will end up, right? You can't predict everything, and you have to be flexible as markets change, as you learn more information, gather more data. You may want to make changes. You want to make changes in direction. So you got to have some flexibility, and also just how dedicated is the team. I look for a lot. That doesn't mean you work 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. It's just kind of have you burned all your boats to come here? Are you committed for the multi-years? Startups aren't a quick flip, right? A lot of people read like the WhatsApp story and say, but 1 saal ke liye karenge, then we walk away with a suitcase full of money. The reality is startups are 5-7 years of your life. So you've got to be sure this is what you want to do for many years of your life, 3, 5, 7, whatever years. It could be that long to make it a proper success story. Your unicorns, Buraqs don't get built in a year. It takes you, Munib's been at it for a while. Mudassir and those guys at Kareem took many years. With the team at Uber, when you read the newspaper story or you watch the CNN story or Bloomberg or TechCrunch or whatever, you just see a 3-minute video. You say, "Yeah, jaldi kar liya." No, what they don't talk about is the nights they had to sleep under their desk, the nights they couldn't afford to make rent, when they couldn't afford to go on a holiday for 2 years because they were putting all their money in the startup. So it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, and it's a long road. It's a long, long road to make sure you want to do this. But put together a team, people who are great. Put together team you want to work with. The last thing I'll say, once again, not to sound trite, but just don't compromise on the team. The company is small. You want everyone to pull their weight. You want everyone to be at your level. You want everyone, frankly, to be better than you in their own domain. You want them to work well together. Don't take B players, never take C players, always take A players. One of my favorite people in the world and one of my very dear friends, Oren Hoffman, who has personally invested in like 150 companies. So he's a one-man, venture capital firm almost. And he's built and sold 3 companies, each for a few $100 million. So he's one of the most successful people in Silicon Valley. One of his rules is never compromise on people, only hire A players. He says if you don't hire A players, make your life a lot easier and they grow the company. If you don't hire A players, it sends a very bad message to the rest of the team, and it will take you a long time to get rid of someone who's not an A player. So those are lessons I've learned the hard way, and I just Oren's words always ring in my ear: never compromise on team. Once again, summarizing, right? Or tech. So then we look at technology, right? So we don't start with technology. Technology, I think, comes later after market. And frankly, I put the value proposition in the TAM, right? So the market that you're looking at and the value proposition, etc. It's the right value proposition, and team and technology. So technology, we look at, frankly, simple thing that does the technology work, right? Is it smooth, well built, etc. Does it lower your, what exactly does it deliver the benefits it was supposed to deliver to customers and to create scale and operating leverage in your company? Is it easy to modify? And frankly, in Pakistan, I see a lot of people, frankly, almost too many people, outsource all their technology. And I understand that. I'm not saying I just think that's weird. I just think that's bizarre that you have someone else run your technology or someone own your technology. It's okay to get some help to get started, but then you gotta own it. If you have someone else owning your technology, they effectively own you. And we think technology is a super important part of the tech story. If you're a tech startup, guess what? Technology is important. I really like to see people own their tech. It's okay to have someone to help you develop it in early days, but then you've got to own it as possible. You've got to have a great technology person, man, woman, whatever. You've got to own this and develop it. It's okay to get help, but I'm still baffled as to people who just outsource all their technology. And because of the sustainable value creation, we think it's a little harder. It's great for a technology company. That's our friends who run these company outfits who build startup technology startups. But I don't know. I don't know if so for Freightex, right? They got help from a company to build it, but they quickly then brought it inside and iterated it in-house. Is it as good as had they gone to like a venture dive or a phenomenal firm? I recommend everyone spend time with them. No, but it's pretty good, and we own it, and it's cheaper than it would have been, and we are iterating it every day, right? So every day the guys are working on improving it, and we are closer to customers, so we get some feedback and we iterate immediately, right? So our development loop, our response loop is faster. Same with TeleTalk. I'm just using Pakistani examples right now because if I start giving examples from Korea or China, you'll say, well, you know, things are different in Pakistan. With TeleTalk, they get help from outside developers, but they own and manage the core technology. The team has hardcore tech people on it, which we like. So once again, the original platform was developed with a Dubai-based company, more phenomenal. They also invested in TeleTalk, but then it was immediately taken over by TeleTalk team, and they own it and run it every day. And their responsiveness to develop is very, very, very good. The transfer is interesting. I'm skeptical. I'm sorry, not skeptical. One way to de-risk a business, a startup business, is to copy or emulate or be inspired by models that have worked elsewhere. So Pakistan, in a startup, enough things can go wrong, enough risks you have, market risk, people risk, regulatory risk, all these risks. And you want to, you know, ideally you want to take a business model that exists somewhere and customize it for Pakistan. So Freightex, and I have no shame in saying this, Freightex is inspired heavily by Black Buck of India and by Manbang Full Truck Alliance of China, right? Those two companies do a phenomenal job in their home markets of China, which is a very big market, India, bigger market than ours. We're inspired by them. Umair has spent time with those teams. I've spent time with their CEOs and so on. We learn from them, and they're very generous in sharing because you know we don't compete. So and we are inspired by them, and we want to be more like them because they are much bigger than us. And we look to them as like our older siblings, and we want to be like them. So there's no shame in it, right? So when we saw the Spark Lab saw Freightex, we said, we understand what this is. You are Black Buck, you are Manbang. And then we said, okay, let's learn from them. Let's learn from Black Buck and Manbang. Let's customize. There's some great Freightex type stories in Turkey, in Africa, and parts of Africa, Nigeria, etc. And we all going to share learning with each other. There's some conferences Umair goes to in Turkey and so on. So anyway, I think learning is not a bad thing. Don't be ashamed. I mean, you don't have to develop everything yourself. Just like TeleTalk. TeleTalk is like Kakao. We would like it to be like Kakao Talk in Korea. Kakao Talk is like WhatsApp, but it's customized. Right? It's customized to what Koreans want to do. You know, so WhatsApp on my phone is not customized. It's designed for Americans. TeleTalk is designed for Pakistanis with languages, stickers, and content. Just like Kakao is customized for Koreans and the way the Koreans use social media and so on. Just like WeChat was customized for Chinese people and how they live and work. So those are two ideas, right? Take something that exists and discuss with somewhere else and bring it to Pakistan. Just adopt that model and bring it to Pakistan. Second is, right, take something that exists but heavily customize it, like make it a Pakistani version, right? And then ultimately, you know, we like companies that expand across markets. Once again, maybe there'll be a day when Pakistani companies, you know, develop here and then go abroad. Like, you know, I don't know, like Augment Care. So a lovely health tech. We're not investors in it. Health tech system. You can get a consultation on the phone and through your company. And then maybe one day it'll be big enough that, you know, they'll take it to the Middle East and Iran or Pakistan or wherever. Anyway, so what I'm saying is transfer is good that lowers the risk. So anyway, those are the four criteria. I look at the target addressable market for your proposition, the team, especially the founder. What's the energy, confidence, commitment, smarts, flexibility. Third is technology. Is it yours? Is it good? Can you change it? Is it suited to what you want to do? And fourth is transfer. Are you taking an idea, etc., that exists elsewhere and bring it to Pakistan? Great, that's fantastic. I don't care if you were the first human being in the world to come up with it. And frankly, by the way, one of the world's richest men in technology, Bill Gates, did not come up with his core operating system, right? He bought it, and then he customized it to take it to IBM. And that's how Microsoft started. So if anyone tells you you have to come up with everything yourself, tell them they're idiots, because you don't have to. If you look at Kareem, Mudassar Sheikha is one of, I think, this generation's finest entrepreneurs in the world, not just in Pakistan. He saw Kareem. He saw that the target market for Kareem was exponentially bigger than what they were thinking. But he realized that they were lacking something, this customization of that model to Kareem. And what I, from the outside, I'm not an investor in Kareem, and I still kick myself for missing that. But we did go into Lyft in the US. And he said, he gave a lot of respect to Kareem, the captains. He called them captains and not drivers. He created a value proposition for the drivers, so he was able to get the best driver. Anyway, what I'm saying is, there's no shame in borrowing a business model that exists somewhere else. Hey, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So listen, I'm not going to go through all of these because you'll get bored, and we'll have to, I don't know how you'll give me feedback on getting bored. So these are 14 lessons I've learned in Pakistan. A year ago, I forget, I don't know if some of you in the audience, about a year ago, there were 10. I gave a speech, I gave a keynote address at 021, the conference at a phenomenal conference that Jahanara hosts in Karachi every November, I think. So Spark Lab sponsored it, and they asked me to speak, and I hate speaking, but I was happy to do it because there were wonderful entrepreneurs in the audience. Anyway, I had 10, now there are 14. Let me just go through a few of them. They've deliberately been written like this because if the sentences are very long, people start reading the sentences and don't listen to the speaker. So I deliberately keep the sentences short. Listen, let me start with the first one. Boring is better than exciting. I think what happens is there are these places that become too exciting or super sexy, like I don't know, like food delivery or social media. Everyone runs after this, or travel adventure. That's great, nothing wrong with that. But we love businesses that are boring. They're so boring, no one wants to be in them, right? Because we think there's a tremendous amount of efficiency to be brought, a lot of talent to be brought, a lot of wealth to be created, and work to be done on boring businesses like fixing inefficiencies in the purchasing process. Frankly, package delivery we think is much more exciting than food delivery. So we think think about some of the most boring, annoying, difficult things that a business does. Technology should be applied to those. That's where startups can work a lot. If you think of Plaid in the US, PLAID, wonderful. What they do is just stitch different banks and financial services systems together so consumers can get transactions done a lot easily. It's not as sexy as online payments, right? But it works, and people need it. They sold themselves for billions of dollars to Visa. So find the problems that are, what I'm really, trying to say is find the problems that are hard, that are really hard and annoying, but you can fix with technology. Because if there's a problem in some industry in Pakistan, I'm sure other industries, it's the same industry, sorry. There's a problem in industry in Pakistan, trust me, the same industry in other countries have the same problem and someone's trying to solve it, right? So this is boring, better than exciting, frankly, is why we like business-to-business opportunities a lot more than business-to-consumer, right? Because businesses want to fix real problems, and they'll spend money on fixing them, and they'll pay technology that does it. For example, a few years ago, robo-advisors were really exciting. Robo-advisors, you've got AI that helps you make investment decisions. Great. And everyone ran to the exciting parts, is sign up lots of consumers, help them manage their money. We skipped that. We thought there were fundamental issues. I went and invested in a B2B, business-to-business robo-advisor that helps banks banks offer white-label robo-advisory services to their clients, right? So you sign up one bank, you get 50,000 customers. A small brokerage firm, you get 100,000 customers. So you then work through the banks, right? So we like those businesses because you're helping solve really big problems through these people who recognize their own problem. And if it's too exciting, frankly, you'll have too many people coming in, competition happens, the market gets destroyed. If it's boring, no one's there, it's just you. And often you can own a lot of that space. Actually, frankly, to use Uncle is one of the greatest examples in human history, in Pakistan's history, of focusing on something boring. If you look at Descon, it's probably one of the greatest companies ever built in Pakistan because no one understood that business. So he professionalized it and just owned it. Where everyone was running around building a power plant or opening shopping malls. This guy goes, this is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity that no one's looking at. Anyway, second, micro over macro. We think macro is great, like what's a big market, what's a big trend. we think that the success happens at a micro level, which is how much does it cost you to get one customer? Where are you going to go get that customer? Then what are you going to, how much does it cost to serve that customer, to retain that customer? Show me the microeconomics, show me the detail level, right? So the more detailed, the more granularity you can bring, the more you understand the business, the more you'll be credible in front of investors to say they can, I'm going to get, that you can say, for example, okay, you know, I'm making this up, there are 100 intercity truck trips a day in Pakistan. Great, so what? So I'm going to try to get 10% because I'm focused on middle market in 5 cities. I'm trying to go after this market, get this share, and for each truck, here's how I'm going to get that trip. Here's how I'm going to sign the truck. Here's how I'm going to sign the customer. So very, very detailed level. That shows to the investor you've done your homework and you know the business, right? And if you want to use, you know, slides or videos, that's up to you really. But the most effective founders are people who can speak clearly with facts and passion. Not a lot of salesy stuff, right? I guess especially that, but just facts and passion and conviction from having been in that market. So Mehta talked to us, he goes, they can say, "Adde pe baithta hu jaake, main 6 din addo pe baithta hu jaake sunta hu log ki baatein." And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I've never even been to Adda, so he took me to one. Anyway, I'm just saying, know your sector at a micro detail because the investor may actually know it pretty well. So we were talking to the robo-advisory guys, and I know robo-advisory very well. And every question I asked, they had a much, much better question in return. So know your stuff really at a micro level, not just airplane level. I'll pick a few. Okay, let's do 3, which I love. Culture is more important than strategy. Strategy is great. I am a former strategy consultant. I made a living doing strategy. Strategy is fine, but other people can do that also. Culture is hard, really, really hard. And culture, by culture, I don't mean a mission statement. I don't mean a TV commercial. I mean, culture means how do decisions get made? Who makes decisions? What's the process of making decisions? What gets rewarded? What gets punished? Those are really important things when you think about it, right? Is it like a state business where one person does everything? Is it a kind of a consensus driven? Is it kind of slightly hierarchical to make things happen? I don't know, but there's no one right way to do it. But we try to understand culture a lot to see, can this company survive a downturn? Can this company survive, you know, growth? Can this company even handle growth, right? Through the cultural processes. Is the culture strong enough? Is the culture designed to grow? So it's important. Read up a little bit about culture. I'm happy to send you some articles, but we think culture is a lot more important than people realize. You know, our companies get tripped up on the culture. One of the world's most successful investors is Peter Thiel. I've had the good fortune of being around. I'm not going to admit, he's not my friend. I wish he were, but I've been around him a little bit, and he said one thing very important. He said, don't fuck up the culture. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's his word, not mine, so you can blame him. He said, culture endures, right? No matter what have your business model may change, your people may change, your target market may change, but culture doesn't change. And when you build a good culture, people work well together, respect each other, make decisions the right way with facts and data, and work well together. Respect for customers and so on. Respect for following the law, paying your taxes, etc. So that's important. Remember, the culture matters. Oh man, I love all of these. No, it's more important to say no than yes. Here's a problem all of you are going to have. If you, inshallah, have a successful company, people are going to come to you with all sorts of wacky ideas. Ye kar lo, wo kar lo, ye expand kar lo. Say no to everyone. Just say no to everyone. Because you should keep doing what you're doing. Maybe take on one more thing. Don't do too much. And one of the startups I was working with had like these 2 business models they were running together, and I was pushing them to only pick one, but they added like another one. And I was like, how can you do this? You don't have that much money, you don't have that much time. Anyway, so that was the long debate, and ultimately, you know, they didn't listen to me. They did not listen to me. I was on the board, and I was an investor. It was their company, right? They did not listen to me, but that happens sometimes. But remember, you have a lot to do. You have more to do than you realize. In fact, you don't even know what you have to do sometimes. So don't take on too much, man. Just focus on what you really have to do. And that connects me to number 7, which is borrow is better than build. Because you have so much to do, right? Borrow some of the things you have to do, right? So if you have to outsource your branding and marketing, great. That's not essential. If you can partner with someone for customer growth, great. If you can help someone build your technology up front, but then bring it in-house, great. Just find ways to get leverage from what other people are doing, from other people can help you, right? Not just search engine optimization, which some person is Google. Like anyone, like the waiter in this restaurant can use Google, right? But for search engine optimization, I'm saying find the critical, list out the critical things you have to do, and the non-critical things, and then decide where you'll spend your time and capital and team, and where you can have other people do it for you. If you pay some of them, you piggyback on them. That's super important. Don't build everything, man. You'll die. You'll never get started. You literally will die. I'm just going to go back to number 6 because it's one of my first lessons I've ever learned in life. Was here's a lesson I learned. I was working for a company when I was at McKinsey that made dog food, right? And I was a young guy out of Pakistan. I didn't have a dog. I didn't really understand what. I also didn't understand how dog food worked because Pakistan made chapati khilaya. Anyway, so this dog food, really freaking expensive dog food. So I'm working with this company to like help them optimize dog food and brand. We're doing all this analysis. And the CEO said to me, Samir, it's not about the dog food. It's about the dog. When a pet owner, I don't know if you guys go have pets. I'm assuming you have children, right? Children who can't speak. And children who can't speak are kind of like dogs, right? They can't tell you how they're thinking. So a dog can't give you feedback about the food, but right, you don't buy great dog food. You do whatever it takes to have your dog be healthy and happy. So think about who your actual customer is, what the end result actually is. Like sometimes people aren't buying something just for a cheaper price. They're buying convenience, right? Now, Daraz is such a great business. It's cheaper and convenient. But sometimes try to understand what is the actual thing people are buying. It may not be what you think they're buying, right? So in dog food, I thought my dog food client was buying awesome, scientific, healthy dog food. He goes, no, I just want a happy, healthy dog. So whatever makes the dog healthy and happy, I'll buy that. And I hope that lesson is of some relevance. By the way, I did not mean to insult your children. I'm sure children are wonderful. It's just that, anyway, whatever. Employees and customers. Okay, number 8. I'll skip a few after this. Yeah, there's a lot of obsession with customers, which is good. It's good to be focused on customers. You should talk to customers regularly. Even as a founder, you should talk to some customers directly. Don't outsource all of it. Pick up the phone, talk to some customers. Take some orders yourself, right? Be the call center person for a few hours. I used to be the number 2 guy at Standard Chartered Bank in Pakistan for a couple of years. And I would sometimes listen in on the call center or go to the branches, kind of hang out behind the counter. Because that's how customers actually connect you, right? That's what the customers actually connect you. They don't call the founder, they don't call the CEO. They find if you don't know how the front line lives and works, you don't know how the company works. Anyway, so customers are important. You should do surveys. I like the Net Promoter Score. It's simple and very powerful. Use that. Get feedback regularly on what customers like, what they don't like. But remember, in human history, there's been no case. I've seen, and when I was at Bain & Company, which is a global leader in customer satisfaction engagement strategy, they could not find a case where unhappy employees made for happy customers. Right? So unhappy employees don't make happy customers. So you've got to have happy employees, satisfied employees, motivated employees. So find ways to do that. Because once you hire an employee, it's cost and time and opportunity cost. And then you train the person. So focus on retention. So whatever you got to do, focus on retention, training, compensation, bonuses, whatever it is you can do, you've got to hold on to your best employees. Treat them better than you would your customers. Employees are super important. If you don't have happy employees, you won't get happy customers. As a startup, that's incredibly true. When a startup employee does well, the next 5 startups will start poaching that one person. I know we've seen that a lot. Yeah, number 10 is kind of funny, but I'll tell you that. I mean, listen, man, I think investors are more important than parents. See, parents typically want you to be happy. They want you to have a good night's sleep. They want you to take a shower. They want you to get married. They want you to have children. That's wonderful. You should do all that. But investors don't care. They want you to grow an awesome company. They want you to grow an awesome company as fast as possible, as big as possible. So their interests are very aligned with your business's interests. And your parents may just want you to get a nice job at a bank where they give you a car and a housing allowance and 2 weeks of paid holiday. And that's great. If that's what you want, you should not be a startup. You should not do a startup. If that's the life that appeals to you, the safe, comfortable life where your parents are proud of you and you've got a business card which says vice president, don't be an entrepreneur, right? Don't go do that. I'm sure that you guys are all talented people. You make lots of money, do wonderful things for Pakistan and your family. To be an entrepreneur, you've got to really want to do it. You've got to sacrifice. You have to be prepared to sacrifice, and you have to be supremely focused on like growing the company. Don't let people tell you, oh, but a balanced life. Balanced life. Packages group balanced life. But as a founder, that you have a singular mission in life, which is to grow that company, and that's it. It's not that complicated, and that's the hard truth. There's one of the greatest books I've read about entrepreneurship. It's by a guy I actually read a couple of times. It's called The Hard Thing About the Hard Things. In general, I don't encourage people to read a lot of books because I think talking to people who've done it is better than reading books about them. Right? So if you can spend time with successful entrepreneurs like Munib, you're better off. Like that 2 hours with Munib is worth like 10 books. But the hard thing about the hard things is a great book. Having said that, most books are terrible. Let me tell you, this book is a reality of startup life. One of the startup investors, startup we funded and was super successful. We sold it to a very large tech company. All the employees did really well. 2 of them retired after that. Imagine retiring at the age of 32. Man, I wish I could have retired at 32. Right? So this is because for 5 years, 4.5 years, these people worked. They worked, they pivoted, they sold. The whole company used to do tech development and sales, but they couldn't afford to hire that many people. These guys finally, there was 1 week period where they were eating ramen noodles for every meal and sleeping under their desks because they couldn't afford to pay rent on their apartment. So once again, I'm not saying that's how you should live, but these guys did it. The founder was a lady, a woman from Stanford. She had 3 employees and something they grew, but they just together decided, we're in this together. It's like an army unit, right? It's an army unit that says, we're in this together. We're going to ride or die. Right? We're going to make this happen, or we're going to go down together. And sometimes you listen to stories and you realize, I've started investment companies, venture capital funds, private equity funds. I've never started a tech startup. And it's some of the things that came through are harrowing. And sometimes that's what it takes. Once again, not to scare you, but I think if you've got the fire, you should do it. Just remember, man, this will be hard. There will be hard times. Sometimes, like one of the companies which we went in, the funding round took a long time to close, and there were 4 months. There were 4 months that some of these guys before I came in. These guys didn't get paid, right? Because money was that tight for them. They started doing some side businesses and development just to get through the next 4 months. Right? It's not like working at a bank or Khadi or ARY or Telenor. Right? I don't know about ARY, but it's like Telenor. It's a great company. You get your paycheck every 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever. You have healthcare. Show up in the morning, everything's all clean. It's a beautiful office. That's great, right? But as a startup, it's a very different life. You should talk to more entrepreneurs about what it's really like. Of course, you should do all the smart things like risk mitigation and all that. But just remember, just know what you're in for. And it may be years before you can exit. Okay, on to happier things. Let me pick the last one, 14, and I'll go back to 9. 14 is basically smart money is better than dumb money. That's a pretty stupid thing to say, but I'll tell you why I say it. Hopefully, you'll be very fortunate. Hopefully, you're very smart, capable, and you will network with lots of VCs and they'll start throwing money at you. My advice to people in Pakistan always is don't just take anyone's know the industry, an investor, a VC investor, an angel investor who can really help you. Who can help you how? By giving you good advice when you ask for it. When you get asked, give you good advice. Second is someone who returns your freaking phone calls when you call them, right? So my rule is I return the WhatsApp or WeChat or phone of all my entrepreneurs within 90 minutes, right? But if that person calls me, something has happened. So one is some expertise they bring. Second is just the return your phone call. Very important. And third is help you sell, help you get into clients. That's a super important job. So I'm an investor, recent investor in a artificial intelligence company that helps large consumer, fast-moving consumer goods and personal care, beauty products do dynamic demand management. In fact, the technology is so complicated. I swear to God, I don't even understand it. But I love the team. The team. This is the 3rd startup. The founder is a beautiful human being. It's a genuine person who people follow to the end. People will follow Shelley till the ends of the earth, right? They're a London and Chicago-based company and just inspire loyalty. and they will do whatever it takes to win a customer. It's really quite amazing, and they have phenomenal technology. So I've broadly understood the space. I know these people. I've known them for years. I know everything they do turns to gold, and they are beloved by customers. So as part of my diligence, I spoke to some customer, and the customer said, man, do they have the greatest technology? They're very good technology, but they'll customize it for me, they'll do it the way I want it, and they'll give me a trial period of 3 months, 6 months. And in that sector, no one does that. It's pretty cool. What I'm saying is, so they asked me to join their customer advisory council, which I'm happy to do. I think I'm chairman or vice chairman of the customer advisory council. So they think of me as smart money because I can help them get clients, I can help them give them advice based on all my tech experiences. Dumb money is like vulture money or the stupid money, right? So there's a category of investors in Pakistan, without naming names, who I think are vulture investors. They rip off companies, take too much equity for too little money. They give you services in kind as opposed to giving you freaking cash, which I think is terrible. There are also investors who I think so that's that. Those are don't go to vulture investors. If you want to know who's a vulture investor, just ask people. Everyone knows who they are. Second is what I call cocktail party investors who just love telling people they're investors, and that's okay. They want to put $50,000 in their company, sure. As long as they don't bother you, as long as they don't show up to board meetings, take their money, have a good contract with them, and return the money when you inshallah exit, right? But that's okay. They're neutral. The good investors are people who actually can give you advice, who can give you money. And when someone tells you they'll give you money, actually make sure they give you money. Because sometimes people give you money on January 1st, and like it'll be August, and you're like, "Where's my money, man?" Because it's been 8 months. And also help you get customers, get sales, get partnerships going. Those are important. I know, a very dear friend of mine, Ali Jamil at TPLE Ventures. He and I are investors together in Teletalk, and he has actively helped them get the business partnerships and content partnerships and sales partnerships. Right? And that's a great investor. You want that guy on your team because he's been investing in other places. He's been a grizzled, serious entrepreneur for many years, so he can bring a lot of advice to people. And that's the kind of person you want on your board, and that helps. Yeah, sorry to bore you, but let me pick the last one. Listen, women better than men. This is super confidential, and this has been on. This is super controversial. Not confidential, controversial. This has been on my list for years, and I did not put it on just because it's Buraq or the Ladies Fund. What I mean by this is very simple. I've invested in countries, Korea, China, France, in broader countries. Anyway, what we've seen is for a woman to make it to be an entrepreneur and get funded, she has to literally be like 3 times better than a man, which is really sad. But that's the world in which we live today, and I have some ideas on how to change it. So what happens is, think about it, the woman's going to be 3 times better than a man to get the same funding for basically the same startup. Think about how much better she is than your median male entrepreneur. And that's what I think. If you see a women entrepreneur, we typically are biased towards them. Our challenge, frankly, is we don't have enough women entrepreneurs, right? So we look at Spark Labs, the 280 companies, we don't nearly have enough women entrepreneurs. If you look at our pipeline, we only have 3 investments in Pakistan and Spark Labs, but none of them are women founders. And that's depressing to me. We're in discussions about 12, right? And hopefully we'll close on some of them. When we closed around and successfully fund them. The thing is that women have to be so much better just to get into the door and get done. Also, think about it. Unfortunately, the way social structures are set up, for a woman, and I saw this when I was at Standard Chartered here. At 9:30 in the morning, man shows up to the office, woman shows up to the office. The man literally just got up, showered, shaved, put on clothes, ate breakfast, went to the office. The woman typically got up earlier, dealt with the kids and helped with breakfast, even as a cook, sorted everyone's life out, helped the husband do something, and then she made it. So by the time came to work, she's already done a whole job, and then she has to work. Right? So think about that. If you unshackle this woman, she would be phenomenally productive, right? So anyway, the women entrepreneurs we backed have been ridiculously successful, partly because to get there, to get from the door, to get funded, you have to be so much better. And I think that applies to Pakistan. So I'm a big fan of, for example, investors like Aisha Khan. God, I forget she's at this sustainability fund whose name I always keep forgetting. Maybe Tara, you remember. And then I like Kulsum and Misbah, what they're doing at I2I. They perform investors, women entrepreneurs. So there are platforms that exist who are heavily biased towards women investors. I think that's good. Pakistan does need that. And for every idiot guy who says, okay, what about men investors? I think, my God, pura dunya men investors ki become biased. It's good to have a few platforms who are heavily biased towards women. Anyway, thanks for listening. That's what I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I'll pause because we're running out of time. But anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Samir. You've been fantastic. We have a lot of Q&A that has come your way, and so we'll quickly go through those questions. Guys, we know that Maghrib is in about 9 minutes. Whoever needs to leave, please feel free to do so, but there's some hardcore content here, and we'll be giving the recording hopefully on YouTube and on our website afterwards and send you an email of that and the PowerPoint. So first, Samir, before we get into the audience questions, I had one for you. Why did you choose to invest in Lyft, which is a competitor to Uber, but not Careem? What made the difference in your decision-making?
So Lyft, once again, we went in through a vehicle set up by a friend of mine in California. He called me, invited me in. The simple truth is on Careem, I was never contacted. I think I was contacted pretty late in the day or later round. I just didn't like the opportunity cost of capital given at any one point. It's not, we're looking at, 10, 15, 20 companies. So, I made a mistake, right? I said, well, there's other opportunity we're looking at in China. That's done really well, frankly. So we said, well, Lyft, maybe we've got Lyft. I don't know, frankly, this was I was offered Careem at this point. Once again, it's a great company. Duster's amazing. Junaid, it's a phenomenal team. I'd love to. If anyone here is at Careem and wants to leave, start their own company, call me. I'll back you. Okay. There's an entrepreneur called Tariq Elahi. Once again, I'm going to actually tell him this in person later tonight. He runs Careem now, the delivery company, and I keep telling him, man, come on, go start your own. Because if you're from Careem, you've been so well trained. You've been trained by some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, right? Like Junaid and Duster, and now they're part of Uber. Right, which is also some terrific entrepreneurs. So I was offered Careem specifically at a point in time when we already had Lyft, and then we had some other things we wanted to do with capital. Also, there was a time when Uber valuation was I was very nervous about Uber valuation. And I thought, well, at some point, Careem can't remain immune from that, right? So if you remember, Uber got some lofty valuations, and I got really concerned about that sector in general. So we just said, let's not go deeper into it. Instead, we went into a couple of different spaces, and that worked out okay. But it would have been nice to do Careem just because it would have been a great way to learn more about Pakistan.
Thank you. Just so you know, Tariq has left and has started his own business if you want to contact him about that. Now we have some interesting questions for you. So first of all, we have a question here from Maham Banu of COFW for you to give some insight on startup sustainability.
Say more about sustainability. Is this like environmental sustainability or financial vibe?
Financial.
Yeah. I mean, I think every startup I've ever met, and I'm sure all of you have financial model. Your financial model, no matter which stage of company you are, your financial model. But what you want to have is some reality to that, right? So there's a calculation called burn rate, right? How much money are you spending? How much you're getting in? And you want to have some backup scenarios of how much cash reserves do you need at any one point. Part of the challenge has been, I'm planning for the worst, right? What if sales take longer to close? What if funding round takes longer to close? But I encourage you to have two different calculations. One is literally just the P&L. It's very nice. That's accounting math. Have just a cash flow, like a daily cash flow tracker. Because the issue is, you look at the income statement, but there's nothing money in the bank, right? Because people take 90 days to freaking pay you, or investors taking 6 months to. So just have, we've got larger business in Pakistan. They have the same problem, right? Everyone expects to get paid in 30 days, but they'll pay you in like 120. So just be realistic about that. Have cash cushions. So once again, the biggest issue with sustainability in Pakistan ends up being just cash. Make sure you have a cash budget and have burn rate and so on calculated. And that's fairly easy to calculate. If not, you Google it. It's very straightforward. The other issue of sustainability is, did you pick a market fundamental secular change, or did you pick a bubble, like a temporary thing, right? So are you betting on a fad or something fundamentally sustainable? Oh, sorry to be better. So that's the advice I give, is just bet on a target market that's sustainable, addressable, and large.
Thank you so much, Samir. We have another question from Yumna Ahmed, Associate Consultant at Zeta Corp. How to develop your team when you're in an initial phase of your idea?
Oh, super initial. Yeah, I'll tell you what we did, what some other people have done. So what we've seen is, before seeking funding, what some people say is this: yeah, I'm not ready to fully go into it. So I'll put a business plan together, maybe have some people, what I call sweat equity, right? So sweat equity meaning people is helping you out for free, but in return you'll give them some equity in the business or help them out, or they're giving you volunteering their time to help you out as a friend or a mentor. And that's a good way to sort of just assess the business, test the business. But it's you have to decide what is the point. Like, so you started, you have an idea, you wrote like a 1-page, so on like a OneNote. Some companies they start in a notepad and say, here's my idea, right? Great. But then what are you going to do to test that, to make sure that works? Who are you going to talk to? And then what is that point when you either kill the idea or you then have to like quit your job and go do the idea, right? So that's one high-level process. Then when let's say you decide to quit your job, do the idea, you're in the what I call a bootstrap phase, which is you got to do it yourself. And that's way too early for strangers to come and fund you, right? So this is what I call friends and family, right? So maybe you have a bit of savings. So don't put all your savings. So a little bit of your own savings. Maybe some friends invest in it, family members. This is not $1 million. This is a few $1,000s to kind of do some more tests, and also save costs, right? If you don't need an office, don't freaking get an office, right? You don't need a company car. Just try to be frugal. Work out of your bedroom if you have to. But just figure out when you're starting, what are the least amount of things you just spend money on, right? What else? What can you borrow? Not don't steal, but what can you borrow? What can you career? Some of you went to very good schools. Some of your friends are doing phenomenal things, right? And frankly, honestly, this is where places like Buraq Center come in really handy. And you go to your incubator, like the Spark Labs Accelerator. The Accelerator Alumni Network is fantastic. In the alumni network are entrepreneurs, mentors, other startup founders. They will help you. So try to spend as much little cash as possible up front, and try to grow it as big as possible with the least cash. But then when you actually do an institutional round of funding, you will have a lot of equity. You'll own a lot of that company.
Thank you, Samir. Our next question is from Shahid Mustafa of IFC. He asks, Pakistan has foreign investment regulations that are more friendlier than India or Bangladesh. Why do we have low investments?
Oh man, I get asked this question. It's a great question, Shahid. If he's from the IFC, then obviously he actually knows the answer also. So he should probably answer the question. I must say, IFC is a wonderful force for good, and I'm glad IFC is here, and I hope IFC does a lot more. In fact, they invested in one of our private equity businesses, and thank you very much for doing that. Listen, man, as you all know, that's just one element, right? Regulations are one element. The other element are regulations actually enforced, right? I'm not going to go into a whole criticism of the government right now, but regulations are great. I think there's more regulations needed. How money comes in and out. And what are the rules in state banks? State banks very friendly now under Dr. Raza Bakir to startups, be innovative in fintech, and having money coming in and out of the country. I think we have more to go. I think in terms of overall regulations, yeah, they're friendly. They're great, wonderful. But they just exist on a book, on a paper, but they have to be enforced and they have to be tested regularly. But also, that's part of the story, right? The other part of the story is, are there entrepreneurs, right? Are there tech stacks on which people can build sustainable businesses? If you're a foreign investor, can you take your money out? I'll tell you a story without naming the regulator. We were about to put some money into a company, Pakistani company. Well, actually, the company जब बढ़ेगी तो फिर क्या होएगा? The guy goes, well, तो बेच देंगे, जिसको खरीदेगा कंपनी उसको बेच देंगे, पैसे वापस दे देंगे. अच्छा, एग्जिट कर लेंगे आप, पैसे वापस बाहर करेंगे. अरे यार, $3 lakh डाल रहे हैं. Inshallah, if it grows by 10x, it will be more. But at least there'll be a rising tide, right? Will lift all boats. And some of the regulators just don't see the bigger picture. But once again, it's not about regulation. It's about individual regulators. And also, it's about much more than regulations. But the whole ecosystem, are there enough entrepreneurs, is there a tech stack? Here's a quick example. So it's a quick example. Because the question is so packed with this, such a dense question, I could talk about just this for 2 hours, but I won't. I'll spare you. Listen, think about a business model, right? Think about the fundamental search business model. In developed countries like America, like the US, Canada, where some of you are from, right? Advertising is a great business model, right? Advertising is companies, mid-sized companies, small companies, everyone buys advertising. In Pakistan, in emerging markets, it has to be a transaction-driven model. Ad revenues aren't that big, right? Which is why for Google, Pakistan is not that big a market. Even though we have 210 million people, the world's 5th biggest market, for Google, we're small because they depend on ads. So this is why for Pakistan, a business model that works on transactions will do a lot better, right? So I think that's what investors look at and said, what's beyond regulations? Check, good, well done. Rule of law? Check, good. Or kya hai? And that's all kya hai aapke paas is the question we all have to answer.
Thank you. Then we have a question from Yamna Yaya, student at Barrier University. She wants to know if you could share details of viable earning opportunities for students, especially work from home opportunities. How do homepreneurs qualify for funding?
That's a great question. So the question really is, what is it, right? I mean, depends what it is, right? If you are bootstrapping a fintech startup from your home, so you're a temporary homepreneur, right? So you'll be at home for a few weeks, months until you get to some place, you start bootstrapping it, right? Then you go get some angels, and then you get some venture capital funds. Right? If you are, there's a friend of mine, right? She's a fantastic cook, and she makes brownies, right? In Lahore, and during the pandemic, her business went exponential, went bananas. So she said, well, what is this? And I told her something. I said, listen, you're not just a brownie baking person. You're a home-based entrepreneur. And I fundamentally believe, for 30 years, that every business is a tech business. If you don't have any element of tech, I don't even know what the hell you're doing. So every business tech. So figure out what can you do in the tech, value chain, what can be tech. Can ordering go online? Can delivery go online? Can your ingredient, I don't know, figure it out, right? Should you posting recipes on YouTube to should you be doing, taste tests and so on? Use all the technology tools to drive your home business is what I'm saying in a very complicated way. So technology exists, use it to drive your home business. Okay, so if you're not using technology, you're doing yourself a disservice. In terms of how do you get funding, it's interesting, right? So remember, investors look for growth. They look for growth to look for profits. So if you, depends on what your aspiration is. You said, I'm going to take my brownie business and, I make 100 brownies a day today because me and my daughter or my son and brownies, it's really fun. But I want to make this a $10 million, $20 million business. Okay, so show me how you do that. Right? Show me the path and show me what you're going to do with that additional money. So it's like, what are the uses of those funds? So where are you today? Where do you want to be? What do you need to get there? And then you say, here's what I need for capital, right? Otherwise, you say, I don't know how to have that conversation. You say, I've got a great reputation. I've got a great brand. It's called Samir's Brownies, right? Everyone loves Samir's Brownies. And I've spent $50,000 of my own money to build a brand campaign, and I have a Chishty delivery service or Food Panda delivery service deliver my brownies. People freaking love it. I just can't make enough. So I need $175,000 with which I'll rent a space, get a kitchen, get 3 more staff, and spend some money on YouTube for advertising, right? I'll buy some keywords around brownies, I guess, and pay some incentives for Food Panda, and then we'll grow to this. And when I get there, right, I'm going to then have this kind of business, this revenue, then I'm going to raise $1 million, right? So start with, where are you now? Why are you even good? Where do you want to go? What do you need to get there? How much money do you need now? How are you going to use it? So just, no one's, frankly, maybe your dad will or your mom will, but someone came to me and said, I make brownies, I want to make more, give me money. I don't know what to do with it. Not to be a jerk, but I don't know what to do with that.
Great. Now we have a question from Irene Hashmi, curator at MH Initiatives. How do you approach sponsors and stand out in front of them?
Yeah, so that's actually the right question to ask, because this is all theoretical. Yeah, they go. The short answer, and not to be glib, the short answer is any which way you can, right? So if you're at a conference and you're pitching, you have option to pitch, get up and pitch, right? A TeleTalk was selected by Google last summer to go to Bangkok. They were one of 9 finalists. They went and spoke in Bangkok at a Google conference. 3 minutes. The poor bastard flew to Bangkok, half day of training by Google, which is very nice. And then he's been a 3-minute presentation. And then after the presentation, 5 different investors came up to him, right? So find opportunities to get in front of people, right? So one is investor conferences, tech conferences, use your network, right? Call around, email, WhatsApp, whatever method, TikTok, I don't know what you use. Find ways to tap your network to reach out to people who are investors, who are, depending on the stage of your company, is it an angel, is it a institution, whatever it is, just reach out to your people. But remember, always have a short note ready, right? You should have a 3-line version of your company. My joke I always make is you should have a kind of a WhatsApp message length ready, like 3-4 lines. You should have a 1-screen email ready, and then a deck ready, right? So you should have 3 versions. And you can send people WhatsApp saying, here's this company I'm trying to do this, right? Email version, people say more. As people say, someone like me will say, oh yeah, that's interesting, send me more. You send them a deck. And then you follow through like normal, polite business protocols. So you want to just spend some time thinking about your messaging. What's your 3-line answer? What's your one iPhone screen? I'm old, so I grew up with Blackberries, and the rule then was 1 Blackberry screen. Abhi iPhone bahut bada ho gaya, to iPhone screen bhi badi ho gayi hai. Just have a short version and a deck. Here's one mistake entrepreneurs make. They overthink the deck. I would rather you overthink this crisp message, the one screen, and then just have a thoughtful deck which tells your story. But the deck does not need to be super pretty. Don't spend money on outside design firm making your deck look nice. Don't do any of that. Just have a deck. If you look at the first deck Airbnb did, it was ugly. It's one of the ugliest decks I've ever seen in my life. But look, it's one of the world's most successful companies now, right? So if you look at Umair Atta, who's a leader in the world, and inshallah he will build Pakistan's first unicorn with FredEx. His deck literally made no sense to me. So I said, put the deck down and talk to me. And he talked about his business, and he was very clear. His messages were crisp, clear, great. And then we worked together to put a deck together. But don't overthink the deck. Have a clear, overthink the messages and the content. Don't spend too much time finessing, making it pretty, adding pictures. Also people overthink their business cards. I met like 10 people the other day at some event where they had amazing business cards, the nicest business cards I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, your company is like 8 days old. You have no money. Why are you wasting time and money on this? Anyway, my point is focus on what matters, which is like the core message of why you have a great business, why you're an entrepreneur someone should back, why this market is good, why the solution you have is good, and why someone should give you half an hour of that time. The one thing I will say, you know how I wrote PAM, team, deck, transfer? Very nice, very good. That's very good. I believe in that. At the seed stage level, at the bootstrap level, it's not that. At the seeds, honestly, it says you're betting on the founder. You're just betting on the founder. You say ye ladki sahi hai, ladka sahi hai, kuch kar lega jaake. So you're literally betting that the broad space is good, and this person knows this person will get it right. We made a couple bets like that. Because it's not that much money at the end of the day, and I fundamentally believe that a good founder makes all the difference. A great founder makes all the difference. They'll figure it out. Smart, creative person, hardworking, hustle 24/7. They'll figure it out. But part of it is why venture capital exists, right? This is not commercial lending. This is not investment banking. This is venture capital, right? And venture capital should back crazy ideas. They should back the wild things that other people won't. That's the fun thing about venture capital for guys like me. And that's why venture capital is a force for good. The only complaint I have is with my colleagues in venture capital in Pakistan. They're too conservative. They want also financial models or risk management. I'm like, guys, this is venture capital. If you diligence an early stage company for 6 weeks, you won't get a better answer than if you do 6 hours, right? Our due diligence on TeleTalk was 3 days. We made a decision in 3 days, right? We know people who took months. So we just think at the early stage, it's very short, sharp, clear clear questions you want. And the earlier it is, the more you're making macro bets. This is not private equity. This is not, you have to go, we for a different company, we're doing some lending agreements with some banks in Pakistan. That's taking months and questions and answers. And I don't know, they want my blood test at some point, I assume. But I'm saying, why? Venture's supposed to be betting on crazy things super early, betting on amazing people with wild ideas that can become 100 times bigger, right? So you want to, as an entrepreneur, you want to partner with a venture capital who kind of gets that, who believes in you, who can help you, right? And as a venture capitalist, you want to find an entrepreneur with like fire in the belly, brains, just street smarts, just hustle, and who can get there with you, right? I think a lot that we often diligence, our industry diligences to death. When you almost like, I met an entrepreneur, this lovely lady in Lahore, super capable, former investment banker from London, who came back and built a phenomenal company. Is looking for venture capital, right? She's bootstrapped it to a level now. She needs to take it next level with venture capital. And these venture firms are just, some of the questions they're asking her, I don't even know why. I thought maybe I'm the idiot, but I don't understand these questions anymore. But sometimes I don't get it, man. Sometimes I think you take the fun out of venture capital. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you're an entrepreneur with a fantastic idea and you think you've got the right skill set, you want an entrepreneur, you want a venture capital firm who believes in you and backs you. Because the super early stage is really about the founder more than anything else.
Thank you, Samir. We have a question from Aisha Chaudhry. What additional stringent requirements for first-time business proposals do angel investors have? Who funds a pilot in a feasibility?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It depends. Do you just do it yourself? Do you do friends and family, or do you go to some angels that you know and say, listen, I guess you need a pre-pilot. Here's some evidence I have that the pilot will be successful, but I need more money, right? So you said, $15,000 रुपए में ये किया, they could show this, but now if I had 100,000 rupees, I could do this. Maybe you kind of break it into smaller pieces, right? So in terms of stringent requirement, my whole fight with the venture capital industry in Pakistan is the requirements are way too stringent. I think we assume that सब fraud करने वाले हैं आपसे, सब बेवकूफ बैठे हैं. नहीं बैठे हुए बेवकूफ, yeah. There's not fraud. These guys are hardworking entrepreneurs who quit their jobs. Some some young person graduates from IBA. They could go get all these amazing jobs. They decided to do a startup. So assume good. Anyway, the only stringent requirement for me is the founder has to be committed. And you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The founder has to be committed, right? Idea may change, this may change, that may change. The founder's got to be committed. I've got to believe the founder is committed, that this is what they're happy to do for the next 3 to 5 years. Right? I know other people have like a whole list of stringent requirements. My only stringent requirement is the founder has to be phenomenal and committed.
Okay, great. Then we have a series of small little questions like, how big does a business have to be in order to be considered investable? What are the prime or more favored areas for funding? Because I know you were talking about generally being bullish on a founder or a business plan, but sometimes there's more pockets of money for other things. And why are so many VC companies publishing they want to fund tech startups rather than just good startups when, as you said, every business can be positioned to be tech these days?
Yeah, let me take the last question first, and if I miss any, you can correct me, Tara. A lot of the funds that you read about, right, are technology investment funds, right? So the way it works is some person goes to rich people around the world and says, give me money and I will find great tech investments for you, right? So his legal mandate is only to invest in tech companies, right? If he invests in like, I'm not making fun of them, if Pan ki dukaan, he'll get fired, right? Because that's not his mandate or her mandate, right? So they have to invest in technology. But if you talk to just investors, right, just normal investors who aren't technology investors, so in Spark Labs we have to invest in technology, right? But there are other investors out there who don't have to invest in anything. So if you have a business that's not primarily technology, you should approach those people and not the tech funds, right? So Spark Labs. So the one guy came to me and said, okay, Pakistan, the real job creations aren't having more thelewalas and more, kulfi ki dukane. I said, that's great, man. I know nothing about these, but and I'm sure if that's true, I'm sure that's true. Go talk to people who do that. I don't know anything about them, and my mandate does not let me do that. But if you want to help all those, if you want to, digitize or digitally grow those paan ki dukanein and thele wale, then we should talk, right? Just like all these wonderful companies are helping the Kunari ki dukaan to grow and be efficient, right? So there's technology everywhere, right? It's hard to believe there's something where there's no technology. But if there's a business that's very happy that you're happy with, some guy who makes nihari and sits outside the street and sells nihari, that's wonderful. It's just not for me because I'll get fired if I invest in that. But if there's a technology element to any business, a physical business, it's definitely for me. I'd love to talk to you. Remember, one of my core beliefs is technology and digital technologies are eating the economy. The economy is big, but it needs to get bigger, and it's going to get bigger faster if technology and digital technologies eat the economy because they have a higher capability of growth. They have a higher metabolic rate of growth. So go make economy digital, right? So look at it the other way. Like Pakistan isn't digital enough. I mean, it's pathetic. I'm sorry, it's not as we're not achieving our full potential. Why don't some of you go help make Pakistan's economy digital? If you look at what Daraz has done, what Kareem has done, they've made Pakistan digital. You need to be more digital. So why don't you guys go do that, right? Instead of saying, "Oh, my company's not technology," well, go make it technology.
Thank you for that. Did you want to answer the other question about what are the prime or most, how big does a business have to be in order to be considered investable?
I think it has, I don't think of it that way. I think of it in terms of, it can have zero revenue. It can have, zero employees, but it has to be, there has to be some evidence that it can grow and be big, right? So if your company is 3 people and 10,000 rupees a month of revenue, but the early evidence is this could be a lot bigger, a lot more people want it, they need to pay more money. And you say, okay, what do you need money for? You need money for more machines, more distribution, whatever it is. I think any company is investable. So yeah, any company, but that's the easy answer. But the question is more like, what evidence do you have that with that new money, you can do a lot more? So the best way to think about capital, it's like fuel. It's fuel to grow, right? So you have to prove you have a rocket, that you want to get more fuel for that rocket, right? Or you want to get fuel to make the rocket better. So there's no, I mean, different funds have different requirements. Right? Just like there's a fund that'll say, not in Pakistan, there's a fund in Singapore that'll say, listen, man, our minimum check size is $1 million US. We will not invest unless we can put in $1 million. Okay. So for $1 million of investment, you have to be really big, right, to get that money. But at whatever size you are, there's some investor out there who will talk to you. As long as you have evidence, you have demonstrated evidence that you are a quality enterprise, that you're a great entrepreneur, and that there's some sign of future success, some sign that point to future success, you can get funded, but it'll vary by company, by investor.
Okay, fantastic. And a question has come also about how do you fund 280 plus companies as a group? Where does Spark Labs get its money from?
Yeah, so I didn't do it myself. I funded all 280 companies. I don't even know how to do that. So I'm not that old. So we've got, like I said, we've got a network of accelerators and VC funds. Our backers are often other entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs who've sold their companies and want to then back the next wave of companies. And frankly, the first waves of capital that help entrepreneurs, early founders, often come from two sources: existing rich people in any country, like some real estate magnate or some textile magnate who says, like Hassan Javed, these guys from the artistic family, they said, we made our money in this space, we want to participate in tech, and they have a fund that works with young entrepreneurs. So one source of capital always is entrepreneurs from the same country, from other sectors who want to help grow a new part of the economy. A second source of capital, this is very important, Pakistan is not there yet, but needs to get there, is successful entrepreneurs who then want to create more successful entrepreneurs, right? If you look at Silicon Valley, if you look at Shanghai economy, right? Shenzhen, it was people who had exits, who made a lot of money and then said, I want to now go, because tech is so much fun, I love this stuff, I know it, I'm going to go invest in other entrepreneurs and work with them on the boards. So some of the most successful investors in Silicon Valley used to be entrepreneurs, some of the most supportive, some of the most successful second wave entrepreneurs have been people who were supported by first wave entrepreneurs, and that's been from that. So Pakistan doesn't have enough of those yet, but I hope Kareem, Kaisab and Kareem say they go become venture capital investors. I hope some of the, for example, one of the gentlemen, Shahid Mustafa, who's one of the most astute fintech investors I know in Asia. He was one of the guys who built Easy Paisa. He was CEO of Ant Financial in Pakistan. And he is an angel investor. Because he said, listen, man, tech was good to me, Pakistan was good to me. I'm going to give back, I'm going to have fun. And he, invests in companies, $100,000, $200,000. And he's great. He loves sitting on boards. And I think at some point he's going to start his own company. And then I'm going to beg him to take my money. So he's that good that he sees that, beg him to take that money. So once again, right, those are where investors mostly come from. The third type of investor that goes into a venture capital fund for institutions, right? So retirement funds, pension funds, insurance companies. Unfortunately, Pakistan mein itna nahi hai. Maybe Tara, maybe you can convince your brother to put some money in venture capital and report. I have him report back on the next Ladies Fund lunch. But that's where money comes. That's where the raw material comes from, and that's very important to have that stable capital.
Thank you so much, Samir. Now we're at the end of our session, and everyone, I'm sure, wants to just spend a second saying a big thank you to you. So we're going to ask everyone to unmute themselves for a second, just to say a good cheer for you. And we, of course, have a wonderful shield and plaque for you that I will come across if you're in Karachi next to you. But here's a big thank you for you hosting the session. If everyone can unmute yourself and just thank Samir.
Thank you, Samir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samir.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you so much.
I will hope to see you soon, Buraq, in person.
Absolutely. And we, of course, are looking here to be speaking at one of our upcoming power lunches as well. Our next, you can have a 2 session is coming up next Wednesday from 6:30 to 7 p.m. hosted by Ambreen Saleh on Facebook Live. And that will be interviewing of Lubna Lakhani of Raintree Spa. And then the following week, this Buraq series will continue here on Zoom. And one of our upcoming speakers, of course, is the State Bank Governor, who's going to be talking about loans for women, which is going to be a really, really exciting session. So thank you all for being here. And behind the scenes, of course, to Rafia, Ahmad, Bilal, and the entire team. And Samir, thank you for being our rock star. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.